you ready? I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
That's Booby.
And Jumpy and Ghosty. Shout out to I'm
Blackmail the universe. Death fan
that
is
one night
is a Megadeth fan. The name of the
He's
song
been around
is
for a while
Blackmail
with
Universe.
for giving us of many things.
Yeah. For timely topical political commentary, you can hit us up at Middle America with Vin and Sori. Mm-hmm. Once we get all these songs caught up, we'll be able to get back to our regularly scheduled firesides, which is where and I became good friends.
Yep.
We're going to have to undo that. I just called him.
I'm going to beep it. I'll put beep.
Okay. Just be very careful, okay?
I'll do it as soon as we're done.
Yeah. Alright, so I'm not even going to do any intros so that we can dodge any more potential doxing. Blackmail the universe, Megadeth, let's go.
Alright, ready? And go.
This is breaking news. It appears that Air Force One was shot down somewhere over the Middle East this morning by a sleeper cell of rogue terrorists firing a Stinger missile. The pilot and all passengers are unaccounted for. The president's whereabouts are presently unknown and he is presumed missing. The vice president, secretary of state, and principals of the military are assembling. Our nation stands at DEFCON 3.
The greatest crisis is someone cover me. I red, white, and blue it. Unleash the banks, body is contained. How can anybody do this? Train y'all to the way the day is. Mad dogs like uses. I'm the sense for God of me. I'm not included. No one's included. None of the found can dig me out of this hell. You will be your battlefield and days. Come once I keep it up again. The tears you're smiling people. Lift up your best in advance. The stage is set. We'll be the first to blink. We can't go to war. Remember that Vietnam thing. The peace and advice. With a gun to your head. Bang, bang. Weakness runs in your family. Well, what runs in mine is dead.
Yo!
This is your 5-minute warning. Prior classified documents. And if cool kids don't prevail for strike, I'm a political dead man.
The people only makes the aggressor more aggressive. He understands only one language, action. And he respects only one word, force. No sign of them stopping. No time for back-channel communicates. We need all the help we can get. Airstrikes and invasions. Retaliate, I say. The will of good men cannot counter the terrible strain of war.
Whoa. Okay, brother minister. Okay, brother minister.
Blackmail the universe with the greatest calamities. Awaken, don't sleep the giants in the dust of the ground. The skin destroying, unjust to witnesses.
reason.
Ooh, that was it.
Yikes. God. I don't think... It is very, very hard to come up with good riffs
Oh.
that don't sound like the one good riff or lick that you came up with. Mm-hmm. So, like, every guitarist...
To make them all sound different, you mean?
Well, yeah, like, everybody kind of has that moment of inspiration where it's like, yo, play that again.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh my gosh, yeah, we build around that or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, it just seems to happen to Dave on every song. Like, that last section was heavy, and I love the way you kind of had some rising action. You brought the drums in it afterward, but it's so hard to write good heavy riffs that don't sound like every other good heavy riff you've ever made. You know,
Yeah,
like
I bet.
the basic one, I'm going to show you the it's like one of the first ones you learn, and it works so well and it sounds so good. And you know, like me, it was a blind riff, and I kept having to come up with different variations of it and all the rest of it. Like, it's 2004, this dude's been jamming for like 35, 40 years when this record came out, and he's still able to make unique sounding riffs that are still heavy. Because I can make a unique sounding riff, but it won't be heavy. It won't sound cool.
When you make a riff, does it come from here or here?
I don't know. I don't know where it comes from.
Huh?
I don't know. I don't know where it comes from.
Do you feel it?
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel everything that I write, but I mean, that's one of the things. That's one of the things about being in a band, because that's why guys fight all the time in bands, because of course you feel it and you're developing it and it sounds good and it sounds good to you, and then the drummer's like, this is not going to work.
This is trash, man.
You know, your timing's on, signature's on, blah blah. But it's not even that. It's like, and you know, guys know me. You guys have seen me play. Like, I'm not a good guitarist by any way, shape, or form. But so obviously that would limit what I could do. But I've seen it in other guitar players that I think are local virtuosos too. Like, it's very, very, very hard to be unique and still good at the same time.
Oh yeah, shoot. I feel like I'd be so happy if I just came up with one riff. I'd be like, that's alright, I'll ride that the rest of my life. It just seems so impossible. But
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's
of course, I don't play the electric guitar, so
it's very, very hard to do that. You know, like, it's unbelievable. But that last section at the end was crazy. So this is a song about somebody that killed the president. They shot down Air Force One, sleeper cell rogue terrorists, and
yeah,
it seems
sounded like kind of was like the end of the world.
Well, because
Nuclear battlefields emerge. You know what I mean? Like, it sounded like
because of the supposed inevitable retaliation that would ensue.
yes, I red, white, and blue it.
Yeah.
Unleash revenge, my body's a taint. But to me, it seemed like medals are useless. Uncle Sam's forgotten me. I'm not important to anyone.
No one will ever come.
Right.
I'll never be found. God get me out of this hell. Whatever.
Yeah.
So I think.
I thought it was that something
he's
bad happened,
talking-
and then people took revenge, and then everything was kind of like we went too far.
Well, I think people are about to take revenge on whoever shot down
Where
Air
the
Force
president
One.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like this verse or stanza right here is a conversation between a guy who wants to exercise restraint versus a war hawk. The stage is set. Who will be the first to blink? We can't go to war. Don't you remember that Vietnam thing? Peace at any price. Then the guy goes,
With a gun to your head?
bang,
Bang,
bang.
bang.
Weakness runs in your family. What runs in mine is death.
I
So
know.
it looks like
yeah,
that.
I think you're right. That did seem like a conversation.
Yeah, and you know, Warhawks are always, and you know, you get a guy like Mattis, who I would not classify him as a Warhawk, but I think Jimmy Dore, a couple other people classified him as one. And Mattis, you know, he was a bad guy. Like, as far as like, not bad in the sense of like completely and totally morally bad, but you know, he's working with, there's a lot of green on blue where you train the Iraqi military.
Oh, yeah.
And then they turn
And
their
then they
guns
turn,
on you. That's
yeah.
green on blue. And so there's this famous quote from, I read it to you, where Mattis was saying, like, I'm saying this to you with tears in my eyes. Please don't screw with us. Because if you do, I'm going to kill all of you. You know, and it was like, you know, the
Yeah.
Marines, that's sort of that kind
Yeah.
of attitude and all that. So I think that obviously, as pacifists, war is terrible. But I think that in order to have a decent-sized military, considering where we are currently historically, you got to have both. Mm-hmm. You got to have people who are saying, yep, let's strap it up, and then you got to have people saying, well, is there a different way to solve this problem? Or look at what happened in Vietnam, right? Which and then I think to myself, would there really be a massive outcry for vengeance if Trump got assassinated? I feel like like the folks that follow Trump, like, absolutely there would be. Like the Trump's followers, like there would absolutely be a cry for revenge, but I don't think that the other side would be like, yo. And that's, I think, one of the saddest things to me about where we currently are.
Yeah.
Like,
Is human life important to you, no matter whether their beliefs differ from your own?
Yeah, but not just human life, just the office of the presidency in the first place, and being an American and having
I feel like
patriotism.
people don't respect position anymore, really.
Right.
And I think that part of that is because there's been so much abuse from people in higher powers. You know, the whole Me Too movement came out, and you were like, oh my gosh, the guy on Fox News, you know what I mean? Like, all these different things, you were like, are you serious?
Yeah.
And so then you just start to say, well, you know, then you hear about the priests, and then you hear about, there's so many different positions, and people use that authority. I mean, people are sinful, like, that's what people do, you know?
Right.
And so when... You know, and remember that time that you were telling me about that jail where they took, like, all of them were prisoners, and then they made half of them, like...
the experiment,
Yeah, that experiment, and then, like, how it just went... The ones that were put in a position where they were in authority over the other ones soon became jerks to the ones, even though they were the same thing. But I think that because of that, people don't respect authority, like... I don't know, I feel like as the years progress, we respect authority less and less and less. Like, my grandmother's generation, like, if you had a position, that was it. You had your position, you know?
Yeah.
But
And of course, that can be dangerous where you just, you know, mindlessly pledge fealty to an individual. And I understand that. But the bigger thing to me is just the concept of patriotism. The president is the representative of all 340 million of us. Mm-hmm. And for somebody to shoot him down should be looked on as an affront to us. I mean, that's what happened to me in the World Trade Center. I was just like, man, these people, I took that so personally. Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, which obviously that type of emotion can be manipulated by, you know, the powers that be. But I think it's a sad thing when you've got celebrities talking about assassinating the president. You had Kathy Griffin, you had all these people, and I also think that the folks who are doing that do not understand. Like, there are still a lot of Americans who do love the country and our patriots. And there was a specific MS, I think it was a CNBC call. It was a call-in show on, I think it was C-SPAN. And it was right after Pelosi had ripped up Trump's speech. And the guy was like, I've been a Democrat for 37 years. I am done. Mm-hmm. Because the night was about, you know, America is getting American troops reuniting with their families and all this and that, you know. The Tuskegee guy, and then she just gets up there and rips it. And it's like, we can't have a moment where we celebrate our country. Like, believe me, of all people on the planet, I know that America is not perfect, but man, I'm still rolling with America.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, living or dying. Like, this is our country.
Right.
Man. Like,
there are things that bring us together, and the stuff that he was, you know, the mom with the kid, and the, you know, like, there was so many different things. And then when she did that, it was like, she just disrespected all those things.
Yeah.
All because, but this is the thing, that's the whole Trump derangement syndrome. Like,
100%.
I firmly believe she wasn't thinking about any of those things.
100%.
It was about what she felt about Trump.
100%. Yeah. And so it's just sad to me. But to be fair, Would the Tea Partiers really have, gotten locked and loaded if Obama would have gotten assassinated by a foreign power? I'm not sure that they would do that either. Mm-hmm. Although, they're more likely to be traditional patriots than what we've got now. But we've lost a lot, in the last 20 years, politically speaking, as far as the climate goes. And I don't think it's sad to me that you get a lot of younger, the generation right under us, don't know what it's like to feel that patriotism and to feel that loyalty and to feel yeah, man, whoever the president is, we can hate him, we can whatever, but you're not gonna shoot down our president, and there are not gonna be some situations.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, I think that's something that we've actually lost, and it's almost like patriotism has become this horrible four-letter word and all the rest of it. But at the same time, you do need people that are well, remember Vietnam, which of course we don't have to talk about Vietnam now because now we can talk about Afghanistan. Hey, we're there for 19, 20 years. So the next group of leaders in the, are going to have those conversations. And inshallah, we can learn from those mistakes. You need both of them. And I feel like that's kind of what happened with the Iran thing where they shot down a drone. And dudes were ready to load up and let off on these guys. And Trump saying, how many people are going to die? And I just think that there was somebody else in his ear saying, ask him how many people are going to die. And I think that you need that. I think you need both wings of the bird to go together.
Yeah.
But this guy, the war hawk, is just thinking, appeasement only makes the aggressor more aggressive. So... that was
understands only one language, action.
Right. So that was the giant, debate point during World War II. It was the Treaty of Versailles got signed, and then, the Germans yo, this is Mussolini got me. It's we're gonna take back what was taken from us and whatever. And so the doctrine of appeasement came out, which was he's evil as hell, but let's just appease him so he doesn't go crazy. Because after all, the Versailles deal was a bad deal. A few days after returning from Vienna, Hitler, beaming with joy, told Goebbels Czechoslovakia is next. And so, there was just this doctrine of appeasement for a guy who had crossed a certain line that he had come to the point of no return. Hitler was. So then you've got, I think it was Chamberlain versus it's the most famous Brit on the planet, guided the whole world through World War II. And I completely spaced this good guy's name, but then somehow I remember Chamberlain. But anyway, Chamberlain, I'm pretty sure it's Chamberlain who, man, let's just appease this guy and, why have all this needless bloodshed after all? It was, and we all saw how that turned out. So it's one of the challenging things where both groups can appeal to history. One group can appeal to Vietnam.
You're right.
And the other group can appeal to Hitler, to Chamberlain, And at the time, we can say now, what an idiot. Oh my God, it's Hitler. Well, at the time, Hitler wasn't Hitler. You know what I'm saying? We didn't know the degree to which
where it was going to go.
He would be,
that it was going to.
Yeah. So, it's. I would never want to be in that position. Sela told me hey, you'd be a good president. Yada yada yada.
That's so cute.
I would want no parts of that whatsoever.
I love how much she loves you.
I would want no parts of that whatsoever because it's so hard. It's so hard to make those decisions, and then history judges you so harshly.
Yeah.
It was Churchill. That's what it was. It was Churchill, and then there was the response of these people only react to force, which is a very dangerous, sometimes true, but I would say it's the exception and not the rule, because there are ISIS, for example. There's no negotiating or reasoning with those people.
Yeah.
But Iraq, we could have easily negotiated something if we said, look, I'm about to send 500 Marines into your soil and send them in there and then say, you want to talk or you want to keep this up because, So there are people that you can talk to, and there are people that you can't talk to. And I would say that those are rare. Think about the last, 20 years of armed conflict. We just signed a reduction in violence treaty with the Taliban. The Taliban were not as crazy and violent as ISIS was.
Yeah, it's interesting because your go-to is like, there could be another solution, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
can we work this out without using force? But you're
Right.
a persuader, and you are good with words, and you're good at explaining things in such a way to get people to reconsider. I'm more like, I'm gonna force them. These people are gonna, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I get that.
Plus,
that.
I feel like this. Well, if in your waiting to discuss it, some more people get hurt, then it would have been better off to force them from the beginning. Although it's like we've said before, like when violence just brings more violence, which brings more violence.
Yeah.
There's got to be another way.
Yep. 100%. Okay. It was a live performance. Vocally, it was kind of weird. Vocally, to be honest with you, I wasn't really feeling it very good vocally. But
Yeah.
the guitar stuff, good lord, the guitar stuff was crazy. The metal was crazy. It was a very, very interesting topic. I think it was just sort of like the whole thing about vengeance. You're going back and forth with somebody, and then this concept of weakness. Because this guy is not a war hawk and he wants to try to come up with other ways, now he's getting called weak.
Yep.
And that's a lot of things with, I remember that clear as day. Something happened to someone of our friends in the hood. I was more like the dove, like, hey, let me talk to him. Because like you said, I'm a persuader. And then the other people were like, oh man, you soft, blah, blah, blah. You scared, da, 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 da. Well, of course I was, because it's New York City.
Yeah.
And people, when they lose fights, they resort to weapons. So I'm like, okay. So if we go in there and win the fight, great, mashallah tabaraka. But now this guy's going to show up and we're not gangsters. But at the time, like, everybody was just seeing red all the time.
Yeah.
And so very, very impossible to reason with in those situations.
Yeah.
So you.
Glad your mom got you out of there.
Yeah, man. So, that back and forth is something that's been happening for ad nauseum, ad infinitum.
Yep.
It keeps happening because we still haven't figured it out that this cycle of violence thing is not the way to go. But anyway, what do you give the song?
8.7.
8.7.
It wasn't really moving for me.
Well, I think we're going to get a lot of comments about why did you do the live version. That was because the person who we're doing this for requested a live version. Yeah, I hear you. I'm not going to deduct them for that, though. I'm going to go ahead and give it a 9.3. It was very interesting. I really wonder what would happen. I think what would happen is the government would probably cover up that it was a foreign national that did it. And they would just call it they would call it a plane crash.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Unless it's something undeniable like JFK, where he was clearly assassinated.
Yeah.
They would come up with some other story because I think it'd just be hell to pay.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I don't think that they would want to go there. But anyway. All right, what'd you say you gave the song? I'm sorry.
8.7.
And I give it a 9.2. There you are, dear listener. Vin out.
Sorry out.
Gone.